Ready? We're going to call this meeting, the Plan Commission meeting of Thursday, July 25th, to order. Please, I think we do roll call first.
Mrs. Barnhart. Mr. Coltice.
Here.
Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Klein.
Here.
Ms. Maris.
Here.
Mr. Miller. Mr. Burrows.
Here.
Ms. Lonergan. Mr. Hosteller.
Here. Next would be minutes, and I think Ty has to give us a little description on the minute situation.
So your April and May minutes, I don't think you're going to be able to vote on just because of your attendance here tonight. Your June minutes, so you're just going to be voting on the regular meeting. We'll bring your work session back next time just because we didn't have that advertised specifically different. That way we're not getting into any issues there. So you just would be voting on the minutes for the June 27th regular meeting.
Okay. Everybody had a chance to take a look at them? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the June minutes.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and second to approve June minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. All right, next we have 24 PC-10 Birch, Gianna, 4825 North Underwood Road, Walkerton. You want to come up?
Yes.
Okay, good for you. Ty will give us a little introduction on what this is, and then we'll ask you questions potentially and let you comment.
Could you give us your name and address
Yes.
for the record, please?
Gina Birch, 4825 North Underwood Road, Walkerton, Indiana.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have a request for a petition to rezone from Lake Residential L1 to A1 Agricultural located at 4825 North Underwood Road, Walkerton, Indiana, Polk Township, zoned L1. You can see the parcel here highlighted in blue. And then when we switch over to the zoning regulation, you can see the abutment of the A1 district just to the south on the other side of the ditch. This area would look familiar to you because we just did a rezoning from ag to lake residential for the neighbor to on the southeast side of this property. So it'd be east side of Underwood Road, north side of the ditch. So we just did a rezoning in this area a few months ago. So going forward, we took some pictures looking out across the property just to give you some context. For reference, here's the zoning district standards for the lake residential on the left, talking about minimum lot size, setbacks, those sorts of things. In the ag district on the right-hand side, same things. For the analysis, the applicant is seeking to rezone their 4.6 acre parcel on Underwood Road just south of Kuntz Lake from L1 Lake Residential to A1 Agricultural. The reason for the rezone is to be able to raise animals. Many of the properties to the south are already zoned A1. Along with one just to the southeast that was recently rezoned from L1 to A1 in early 2024. For the procedure for this is the Plan Commission has advisement over all rezonings. The rezoning of the property will be a recommendation to the commissioners. And the findings include the comprehensive plan, current conditions, desired use, property values, and responsible growth. For finding number 1, the comprehensive plan identifies this region within a few different categories, including lake community, conservation, and agricultural. The lake community district indicates that lake communities should be residential in nature and should not contain commercial uses that would draw significant traffic from outside areas of the county. The conservation district indicates that very limited rural residential development may be appropriate adjacent to conservation areas to take advantage of their aesthetic properties. The agricultural district indicates that agricultural uses appropriate for these areas include traditional farming uses as well as agricultural product storage and distribution facilities, commonly commercial grain elevators, stables, nature preserves, and other animal or food production related activities. For current conditions, they include residential properties used for typical residential occupation, along with smaller agricultural uses as well as off-lake living. The most desired use within the A1 district is a combination of residential occupation as well as for agricultural purposes. For property values, the value of adjacent property should remain relatively unchanged as long as the agricultural uses remain smaller in nature due to proximity of residential neighbors. For 5, residential growth, the proposed change will act as a residential reduction in possible growth because the minimum lot sizes from L1 to A1 are increased. So for recommendation based on the information provided and reviewed by the Technical Review Committee, staff and TRC would recommend approval of the proposed rezoning and is now up for board recommendation.
Do you have anything you need to add to what he just presented to us?
No,
How many acres is involved in your property?
I don't think that was correct on there, but it's, I think, close to 7.
Okay. Because the north side of that, that's where the ditch is, where you've got that blank area? On the north side, is that where the ditch is?
So the ditch would be the south property line.
South, oh, there it is. Sorry, I'm on the wrong side. Thank you.
Based on the Beacon map, it's showing 4.65 acres.
Why is there a blank in this property line space to the north?
On the northeast corner?
Yes.
There's a cutout. Owned by Kenneth Bowles, transfer of death to Brian Lee Bowles. It's a separate parcel that was cut out at some point in time.
Is that a platted alley along the north line?
Along the north line,
That's what I was.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
without having looked up the subdivision to the north, I would suspect that that would be an alley. Just based on dimension?
I know who this, because obviously I know this area very well. I was wondering why there was this long strip in there,
Looks like an alley.
non-used alley, but
The subdivision layer based on Beacon would identify as that as a part of the subdivision, so based on size, I would suspect it to be an alley.
okay. Fair enough. We got any more questions? We can open a public hearing.
I move to public hearing on 24-PC-10.
Second.
Have a motion and second to open public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Public hearing is now open. Anybody here that would like to speak in favor of this project? Raise your hand, please. Anybody here would like to speak against this project? Raise your hand, please. Do we have any correspondence?
No, sir.
Then
Motion to close public hearing.
Second. Have a motion and a second to close public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Public hearing is now closed. You guys have any questions for her? Pretty, to me, to be blunt with you, it's pretty basic. And by the way, I do know who she is. We are familiar with each other, but there's no relation or anything like that, so I want to make sure I've declared that, but there's no connection here.
I'll make a motion to approve the request as written.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second to approve the request as submitted. Roll call, please.
Mr. Coltice?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Maris?
Yes.
Mr. Burrows?
Yes.
Mr. Hosteller?
Yes. Just work with Ty. You've got what you needed.
That's everything. Thank you.
You're done.
Okay.
All right, other MACOG Move Safe Michiana update. This is about the highway?
No, so staff's been a part of Move Safe Michiana, and the reason it wasn't included in your packet was because it was provided to me at like 11 o'clock this morning. So I want to try and get it out there as quick as possible because they're doing a survey and it's timely to you because you will not meet in August because we have no applications. And the deadline for survey input is August 22nd.
Oh,
So we've got that, and then we got a brief budget update based on a meeting I had earlier this week with some members from council. So MACOG's Move Safe Michiana. In 2023, MACOG secured a federal Safe Streets and Roads for All grant to create a regional transportation safety action plan. This plan is a collaborative endeavor driven by community input, aiming to shape transportation policies, visions, and practices across various communities in the region, and it fosters cooperation among local agencies to tackle transportation safety concerns within St. Joseph, Elkhart, Marshall, and Kosciuszko counties. All 4 of those counties are a part of MACOG, which is the Michiana Area Council of Governments. So the online survey can be found at movesafe.macog.com, but I'll also be providing that link to our local county council and county commissioners early next week, so they have all that information and they can share it with all their folks as well, so that can continue to get pushed out. And what they're doing within that is they're attempting to identify locations of unsafe driving behavior, crossings that need improvement, sidewalks that need improvement, better lighting needed in certain areas where they feel safe, so they can use that essentially as case study or showing where it works well in our local community, as well as trying to pinpoint other concerns that individuals have. And so we're going to get that pushed out either late this week or early next week to our elected representatives so that they can begin help pushing that out as well. So we can try to get as much input locally here from Marshall County as we can. The more, the better. Usually St. Joseph and Elkhart counties don't have an issue with getting more and more input because they have a larger population. So that only speaks more when we get more individuals on our end proportionally being able to comment and try to provide input on those things. Then a brief budget.
But Ty, is it something then that we all individually respond to, or it's just
If you're able to-
anybody in the county?
Anybody in the county.
So it's not just the particular area that we serve, it's
No,
the
it's-
entire,
It's the entire 4-county area.
okay.
Oh, okay.
So if you do a lot of business over in Warsaw or in Etna Green, or you haul grain for different elevators and you see different issues, the more we can identify the different issues and problem areas, the better. Usually you're going to be more into the urban spaces in towns, but if there are issues out in the rural areas, it's good to know those as well.
Not to muddy the water, but aren't we addressing some of that with this 3031 initiative thing that was going on?
Propel, yes, is a whole different aspect, but this is its own plan to try to provide safer spaces
So if we
in
wanted to
traveling areas.
include the 30 Queen Road intersection in this discussion, maybe more will happen then?
The more you bring it up, the better it's going to
Okay.
attempt to be. I can't make promises.
I admit, every time I cross there, the number of semis that go through that red light, at least a third of them blow through the red light,
Yeah.
at least a third. And so no matter what, when I go up to that intersection, I stop. Even though I got a green, I'm still stopping, I'm still looking, because if that steel line's blaring, I'm going to wait till I know he got stopped.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
it's a dangerous
And so
intersection.
we'll be kicking that out to as many of our elected officials
Perfect.
as humanly possible so that they can share that out in their networks as well.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Then brief budget update. I had a meeting earlier this week with Ms. Deb as well as Nicole Cox and Jim Masterson to go over some of our different budget aspects that we've been going through. And Nicole made a great point that make sure your board knows what's going on. Don't just assume that it's in a paper and they've seen it. So I said, great idea. I'll bring it to you. So your budget for legal fees and advertising fees has been reduced to zero because we've spent it all, and we've actually gone into the negative because of how much we've used our attorney within the last now 7 months. And so we need to make sure we're getting approval of those sorts of things before we're bringing legal counsel, those sorts of things in, just because we don't have that funding allocated this year.
So everybody understands, my understanding, obviously Ty's talked to me about this several times. We've had a lot of conversations about it. Ty, and I, mainly Ty, not me, because Ty's the one that sends us the packet. Ty has to tell the council what we're going to be discussing that night and why we think we need to have an attorney present. Am I close to accurate in how I worded that?
It seems pretty accurate.
That's
Ms.
pretty
Johnson.
close. I'm not trying to diminish any of that. I'm just saying that's that's what happened. Now, the last meeting, Ty, hey, this is what we're going to discuss. Technically, Jesse has said, no, I do not approve you having an attorney there because it was electric battery, I believe. It was a battery discussion.
Right,
And I
at your last meeting.
told Ty, I want to have an attorney there because we're in the never land as far as what we should be doing, what we shouldn't do. I want to be able to look at him and say, are we okay going down this path? Now, that was not approved by Jesse, but I in turn called who we report to, which are the commissioners. I called two of the commissioners to make sure they knew the dilemma that we were in, and they both advised me that we should proceed with the attorney present. So, but other than that, that's where it stands. I'm not trying to get in a fight with the council, I'm not trying to get in a fight, but I'm not going to sit here at this chair and make decisions and run a meeting that could have us out here and cost the county lots of money because we did something wrong. So I want to make sure we've got some legal representation to cover, I'll say it out loud, to cover our butt, to make sure we're doing things right. So that's, I put Ty in an awkward situation because he called me, and I said, I'm instructing you to have the attorney present. So everybody knows that's how it happened, and I feel we dotted the i's, crossed the t's, and we did it right. Now it's up to the powers to be, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to be in the middle of this.
Right, and a part of the reason that conversation was had earlier this week is because the funding for that doesn't exist, in our budget at least. And so that's where we're having to go before council to get those additional approvals, those sorts of things. And so how do you want us moving forward? Do you want Dave to make that decision on behalf of the planning commission? Do you want me to make that decision? Do you want Jesse on behalf of the council? How do you want us to proceed?
As far as I'm concerned, I'll say this out loud so everybody knows where I was going. By doing the way it's set up now, we're yielding our authority to the county council. They're going to determine what we can even talk about that night. Doesn't matter. We have to tell them, these are the items that we're going to discuss that night, and they will approve or disapprove of the attorney being present because of what we're going to discuss. And to me, that usurps our authority as a plan commission, and we report to the county commissioners. Everything we do has to be approved by them. So that's why I went to the county commissioner. I got to get off my soapbox. Sorry about that. But that's I feel very strongly that I'm not going to sit in this chair, I'll be blunt, and not have some kind of legal representation when we get into those touchy words, because I think it'll cost the county, could potentially cost the county a lot of money. But that's not our role here. Our role is to determine the procedures and processes in order to get these, whether they're variances or ordinances, done properly.
So what are our options? I guess, right now it is, the way it's written, it goes to county council, or?
So the way it functions for all of our advertising and requests for discussions with our legal counsel, we put in a request to council, and Jesse on behalf of council comes in and then signs and approves or denies each of those requests. And then we take action from
Never been that way
there.
before.
I was going to say, that doesn't.
Never.
That's
So do
because we
we-
don't have funding in those line items. They've set it up that way.
So what options do we have? Can we change that? Or are we just looking to, I guess I'm not sure
Now
what we can do.
getting into the legal side of what's going on now. I'm going to be blunt. And and that's why I went to the commissioners and I went to our attorney and say, I'm not knowledgeable on how this is supposed to work. If this is how it works, fine. We'll do it how it's supposed to be done. But this doesn't sound right. We report to the commissioners, but we're having to report to the county council. It's kind of dual reporting. Who's our boss?
Where else can that funding come from?
The only other location I could think the funding could come from could be the commissioners, but I don't know what sort of complications that begins to bring in.
And if anybody listened to I think it was your last council meeting, or was it last commissioners meeting? it was very contentious. That was what happened there. Jesse came there and reported to them what I had done as a board, and he was upset about that. And the lawyers are now involved. Because Clevenger, who's their attorney, I'm paraphrasing here and repeating things, but he is their attorney. He told them, "No, wait a minute. Indiana Code this says that this appointed board has the authority and has the right to have legal representation present during their meetings. That's part of the law. And you're taking that away from them, that ability away from them." Well, no, he isn't. But only for the items that he wants. I'm being editorial. Sorry about that. He only for the items that they're willing to approve. If it's something that they're not interested in us hearing, they're not going to approve it.
I'm of your opinion where we should have the option to have legal counsel if we choose to.
I feel very strongly about that, to the point where, but this is what, now I'll get political, this is what they want us to do, well, then I'm not going to have the meeting. I'm not going to stick my neck out there, and next thing I got some legal papers coming to my desk. I thank you, I appreciate that comment.
I know we have counsel at all of our drainage board meetings, and it's nice when you get to that point and you're looking for an answer, he's sitting over there, you can go to him.
Exactly.
And he tells you exactly what you can or can't do. It's nice to
Exactly.
have that out.
That's what I was looking for, exactly, thank you.
I agree. I mean, we need, this is very technical stuff that we're doing. The legal advice is important. We're not talking about a huge chunk of money
And
compared to what going down the wrong path would end up being.
he worded it perfectly there. That's, if we make a mistake, the hazard is huge. And but I guess I'm looking for guidance from you guys also to make sure I'm not doing something you don't want me to do.
I think you had mentioned some options, and I would like, and I'm not sure, I'm going to just state it because I'm not sure how else to do this, but I would like Mr. Hostetler to have determination whether we want an attorney present for a meeting dependent upon our agenda.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. You want to, can you
Is
make
that
a
a
motion?
motion? Do we,
Yeah.
If you choose to do so, that's entirely up to you. If you'd like to make that motion as an action, like, of the board to make that decision, to give Mr. Hostetler that authority, you can make that that motion.
is that what I will make the motion if we're,
Yeah.
okay, I'll make the motion that Mr. Hostetler is given authority by this commission to determine if an attorney is warranted for one of our meetings.
Okay.
A second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to give, it sounds kind of arrogant saying, give me authority to have the attorney present, should it need to be. Does that cover what, I see a perplexed look on your face.
Yes. So,
I won't do it without discussion with Ty, by the way.
Well, I know that.
Okay, okay.
I guess I could have
This-
stated that.
I would say that making the motion contingent on a conversation with the attorney on whether or not this is being procedurally proper.
Okay, I can restate my motion.
Does the board understand my comment? Anybody saying no?
Should it be,
Procedure that I have that authority or procedure?
That how this vote is occurring
Oh,
is proper. It's not like we advertised to give you the authority to
we
do
did
this.
advertise
I know
we're going to
that
have discussions about this.
could it be a joint?
we didn't
just so can we-
advertise,
Not, yeah.
I
You said
see.
budget
At all.
update. You advertise budget update.
This was part of that discussion, but it's kind of in the fringe of that discussion.
correct, because I
So do we need to table this?
Or do we make it contingent on it passes the muster of the attorney?
That's
That's-
attorney review.
Yes.
That's what I was going to add to that.
Perfect.
You could do it, or you could simply table it until your next meeting, and you can bring it back as an actionable item, and
I think that's
have
probably the
that
better
as
way to do that. Can I
clear as
rescind my
What if we need an
motion?
attorney at our next meeting, though? That's going to be in September, right? You said we're not going to be in August, so we got, stuff is going to pile.
September could be your next meeting, all pending on applications and such.
Right. What if we need an attorney there? I mean, I guess it could still happen.
It could. It's just not black and white. or-
Yeah.
Right. This has got more of an area of gray around it that
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to rescind
it's
my
not a
motion.
zoning
I might-
ordinance amendment that
I might vote this to table.
I can walk you through.
Okay.
My advice would be to table, take the whole discussion under advisement, and then bring it back at your next meeting,
Okay.
which is not in August. It may be September, October, just depending on what applications come
So at
around.
this point, there will not be an August meeting. There's no,
There's no applications for
Okay,
August.
so that's-
Those all closed today.
okay.
And the reason I'm nervous about that is because now we're getting into,
Agreed. I know what
Okay.
you're saying. I didn't think about
So-
that earlier.
I'll reach out to council, get the authorization to go to our attorney to have that conversation of what does that procedure begin to look like, so we can make sure we're doing it properly.
so you want us to table, or do you want us to, or would it be better to go ahead and have
I
the
would
vote?
rescind
and
whatever
then
motion's
pending
on,
a
I
legal
would
review?
rescind whatever motion's been put on the table and seconded,
It hasn't
so
been
that
seconded.
nothing's,
No, I second.
no, it was
Yeah,
second.
it was second, okay.
That way it's taken off of the table, and then at that point, there's nothing there other than discussion.
Okay.
I make a
So-
motion to rescind my motion.
Okay. And so then,
I can second that.
okay,
So there's no longer a motion?
right,
Okay.
you simply have had discussion on
All right.
what to do about requesting attorney and
And
where
since we
that
didn't
authority begins to
properly
come into play.
advertise this type of discussion, we can't take any votes anyway.
Correct.
All right,
And I
that
don't
makes
know
sense. I
whether or
want to do
not
this right.
an advertisement's required for
Yeah.
that kind
All
of
right.
vote.
Well, I mean, I guess if the concern is noted that this panel, this board feels like we need legal representation on some of these issues that we're dealing with, and if that could get expressed to the council, that, you know, we don't want to be left hanging out there.
Obviously, Diane's, you're here, so you can, right? Pass it on for you. Okay, she heard me. Fair enough.
But, and just to add to that, just like this discussion that we're having, we don't have legal counsel here to advise us.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm worried about. Next thing you know, we went down a rabbit hole that we didn't want to go down.
Yep.
Shucks.
So is everybody relatively up to date on
Yep.
the matters that we have no legal fees,
Yep.
or we have no legal advertising fees? So we're going through that same process. And then we have no attorney fees. Changing the title of the fund, but it's the same thing.
But for the
Yeah.
September meeting, you still have to present it to Jesse and Nicole, or is it just Jesse?
Right.
Jesse.
Jesse,
And he reviews what we're going to discuss and determines whether we need an attorney present or not.
right, so we put a request together and he signs off. He either approves or denies the different requests. Like we just had him in earlier this week. That is everything I have this evening. Next meeting was in theory August 22nd at 7, but it is no longer
Could
that.
you update on the study committee?
Oh, yes. So we do not have a commissioner's representative appointed yet. That's up for discussion on August the 5th.
Yes.
Is that the right date?
It's on the agenda.
And so I anticipate them identifying somebody to sit on that from that perspective. So that should be our last individual to sit onto that committee. And from there, I would project 2 to 3 weeks after that so that every member of that committee has time to get it into their schedule for that meeting. I don't want to say, hey, they're going to have the meeting the next week after that. That's unprofessional. So I would project late August would be the first meeting of that task force.
Can you share the names of the people that have been, have they?
Nobody's been officially tapped. We've got a list of individuals that have shown interest.
And we don't have to approve that list?
No.
It just, we've already approved the concept?
You've approved the concept and given me the authority to
Okay.
move forward with it.
You have good interest from the private sector as well?
We've got, Deb Johnson's been tabbed from council, and we've identified our fire rep and our electrical rep. And then we're looking to identify our members of the public to sit on that as well. So we've still got a few names in, but we haven't identified who's going to be sitting on them. But there's several individuals that are very willing and interested to help us out, provide some input, provide some research, those sorts of things, and help pull a good ordinance together.
Good.
How many members you think you're going to have on the subcommittee?
I want to say, if I counted last, it was like 8.
Okay.
So it was on the bigger side. And so we can give you guys an update at whatever your next meeting is, just so you guys kind of have an idea of how the discussion's going,
Yep.
if
Yep.
that's something you guys would wish. So we'll plan to put that on our next agenda, just so you guys have an idea.
It's probably, there's a very, very good chance I won't be here for the October meeting.
Okay.
It's 50 years for my wife and I, and
Oh.
it's that week, so I think I'll probably not be here. Not that I don't
Probably a
mean to
good
dump
plan on your
part.
You want to have 50 more.
Yeah, how that works in the real world of things, but we have a pretty good plan. and
I have no
it's-
other business for you.
All right.
All right, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.